This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Jerry Owen. Jerry is a well-known performer, composer, and retired music professor. Yeah, that's
correct.
Kind of, we
yeah.
can kind of, and you're here representing the Iowa Composers Forum, which, if you're not tuned into the music scene in the community, of course, most of the people listening to KCCK are, but for those who aren't, tell me a little bit about the Iowa Composers Forum.
Hi, Dennis. Yes, indeed. The Iowa Composers Forum was founded actually in Des Moines in 1987. 7 composers there got together and decided that we needed, the classical music composers need a little bit more promotion, needed an organization, needed to have each other to bounce things off of.
Well,
and
because
to try out their ideas.
Sure,
you know?
because let's be honest, most of the time when people think of classical music, they don't think of living composers.
That's right. That's exactly right. And one of our missions is to, well, we've had this idea that perhaps what we should all do is claim our deaths and then have everything discovered posthumously.
There you go. That's the quickest way to fame in classical music, announce that you're dead.
And yeah, that's unfortunately, that's been the case for a very long time. But there are many of us very much alive here in Iowa. We have a membership of between 50 and 80, depending on a particular year, and have had as many as 100 at one time. So there are a lot of us lurking around and not always necessarily in the foreground. However, this particular program is sponsored by the Iowa Composers Forum coming up on this Sunday. It is called Iowa Composers in Opus. Reference, of course, to the Opus Concert Cafe at Orchestra, Iowa. We'll have a program of about 2.5 hours length. One of the special features of the program is our guest composer is the local and nationally famous Michael Daugherty. He'll have a piece on the second half of the program. In fact, his work will be the second half of the program. It's a fairly lengthy work based on Mark Twain's text, The Diaries of Adam and Eve.
Oh, I'm familiar with that.
Yes, and it's
yeah,
wonderful, wonderful stuff, very droll.
Yeah,
very
funny play.
Yeah, very funny. And for that, we're going to have 2 very well-known local narrators, because the piece calls for 2 narrators, a violin soloist and a bass soloist, and all the folks in that particular piece are very well known. For example, Adam will be played by Rob Nassif, who is a well-known composer and performer and teacher in this area, and in New York City, as it happens. And Eve, without fig leaf, will be played by Diana Nolan, who is, of course, a well-known Gazette arts writer and critic. And is a stitch to be around. So that's going to be quite a bit of fun.
Taking full advantage of Michael Daugherty being in town, because he is also here for his tuba concerto being performed this weekend by Orchestra, Iowa.
Exactly right, and that's why we placed this program where we did. The first half of the program, however, will be featuring 5 Iowa Composers Forum composers, that is. Shall I go into the program?
Yes.
Okay, very good. We're going to start off with a composer who has recently been appointed as the composer in residence with Red Cedar Chamber Music. That's a well-known group, and I've been lucky enough to perform and compose with them in the past. That composer is Michael Kimber. His work called 4 Sketches, piece for quartet, string trio and flute, excuse me. Each of the sketches represents one of the great works of 20th century art. So we'll have the graphic arts represented in that particular piece as well. And then going back further into history, into Greek history, Randy Wells' piece called Reminiscences of Eurydice, from the Orpheus myth, is a quartet, a quintet, I have to count my numbers here, clarinet, violin, viola, cello, and piano. That'll be conducted by Coe's own Bill Carson.
Oh, yeah. We
all know Bill.
He gets around. We know Bill.
And then the third piece on the program is our only immigrant composer, from the point of view that he's from Missouri, although he has been a member of the Composers Forum for a very long time. And we have a number of in the Iowa Composers Forum who are resident in other states. Robert Martin has a piano piece, 100 Views of Mount Fuji. Now, we're not doing all 100 on this particular program. We're going to be doing 5 of them. The pieces are 20 groups of 5 pieces each, and this particular group of 5 is called Wind. All these pieces are based on famous etchings by one of the great Japanese artists of the past. And there was a group of 100 etchings actually called 100 Views of Mount Fuji. Robert has taken this idea and turned it into piano music. And that'll be performed by our own Abby Brewer at Coe College. Then representing Luther and Northeast Iowa, composer Brooke Joyce has a piece for clarinet and trumpet based on Scottish folk tunes. That promises to be great fun. And then last on the first half of the program, I'm blushing to say, but
because it appears that closing out the first half is a composer from the Iowa Composers Forum named Jerry Owen,
who is sitting right here at the microphone. Exactly. It's called Mr. Raggedy's Sublime Dance. It's for cello and piano, and our newest chair of the Composers Forum, Craig Hultgren, will be the soloist on that. Craig is recently from Alabama, now lives in the Decorah area. So I'm looking forward to that. That particular piece, Raggedy, is not Raggedy as in Raggedy Ann and Andy, but Raggedy, a name I made up for ragtime.
Ragtime, okay.
Yeah, and the connection between ragtime and jazz, because there is a great deal of connection there. And the piece was commissioned back in 2013, it was this century, 2013, by the Murasaki duo, a cello and piano duo, well known in this region and actually nationally as well. They were touring colleges and universities in the East, and they wanted something to lighten the program just a little bit, so they wanted something jazzy. This isn't exactly a light piece in terms of the virtuosity required by the performers, but it is jazzy. It is ragtimey, if you will. And the connection, the fact that ragtime supplies so much material and so much of the background for jazz, therefore there's a sublime dance between ragtime and jazz. That's Mr. Raggedy's Sublime Dance. That'll finish off the first half of the program.
And then the Daugherty piece based on Mark Twain's Diaries of Adam and Eve for the second part.
For the second half of the program.
So, Jerry, as a composer, sounds like a fun program.
Oh, thank you.
With a little bit of everything.
Yep.
As a composer, what do you get out of the Composers Forum?
Oh, out of the forum?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get companionship, inspiration. Music doesn't exist in a vacuum. As you know, very much you're the one that fills the vacuum from this.
We do fill.
Yes,
we do fill
in your
a little
own
bit
wonderful
of the vacuum,
way
yeah.
and very unique way, as a matter of fact. So the Composers Forum serves as not only a set of colleagues, but also an audience, a way to actually identify yourself in the larger group. So we have concerts all over the state. Usually we'll have a festival that'll last an entire weekend, normally placed at one of the college campuses because there are the facilities there, right? The piano, you have to have a piano to give a concert like this. You have to have a stage, an audience, and a place for the audience to sit and so forth. So normally that's the way it works. Not always, because this particular concert coming up is in a more public view, away from the campus, away from the sort of shielding that the campus provides. This is at the Opus Concert Cafe right out there on 3rd Avenue.
Right out there in front of everybody.
In front of everybody.
Well,
and we hope everybody will come.
Like any kind of writing, composing it can be a very solitary endeavor. And so I imagine that seeking out others who are doing the same thing, having the same challenges, just getting a little bit of time together to say, yes, we're doing good work, now let's go out and do some more.
Absolutely.
Is very valuable.
Yeah, that's right. And composing is one of those compulsive things. I mean, it's something that if you are an artist, you must do your art. And it's just within us. And so it really does help to have that colleagueship, the place, the persons to bounce ideas off of and to share and to compliment when they have wonderful ideas as well. So it's an excellent society for those of us who are lonely composers.
It's the Iowa Composers Forum, Sunday, October 20th, Sunday afternoon at 2:30 at the Opus Concert Cafe, and I assume that tickets are available through the Orchestra Iowa box office there
they are
in front of the cafe.
That's right, and they can be called in as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, we have a website at Orchestra. Pardon me. Let me start that again. The website is Iowa Composers Forum, all one word, iowacomposersforum.org. So if you want to check that out, that's another thing you can check out about the Iowa Composers Forum. Otherwise, tickets are available by phone at the Symphony office.
All right. Jerry, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Dennis.
Again, iowacomposersforum.org. If you'd like to know more about the Composers Forum, you can call for tickets or get them at artsiowa.com, the Orchestra Iowa box office, too. You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most Thursdays and Fridays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule using your favorite podcast app or at kcck.org/culture. I'm Dennis Green.